You know all that complaining Republicans do about the budget and how we have to balance a budget and we need to get, spending under control and blah, blah, blah. They just voted to basically give a $42,000 bonus to every ICE employee, every single one of them. $858 million. All that complaining about the budget, and they're burning $1 billion on nothing. Like, they're not paid already. There are people literally dying right now because Doge went in and illegally closed government programs that Congress voted on to enact, to start, to run. And you're giving ICE bonuses?
Chairman, listen, in the spirit of Doge, I present to you 4 amendments that have over $900 million, some people would say that's $1 billion, okay, of savings to the American people. I decided to Doge your budget. And so what I did, Mr. Chairman, is I used the exact same metric that Elon Musk used. I just made it up. So this was my favorite. I don't know if you know this, but you guys have $858 million, again, almost $1 billion, okay, of money to give out bonuses. $858 million sounds like a lot of money. That's like a $40,000 bonus to every employee in all of ICE. So well, how about $500 million? How about $500 million for bonuses? Okay.
That's only 25,000 bonus, right? For every ICE employee. Oh my God, dude, that's so much fucking money.
We can do this together. We can show the American people there's like a little bit of waste here, little bit of waste. So I can help you capture, Mr. Chairman, $903 million. We can save $1 billion together. Show the American people we're serious.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Of course I will.
You raise a profoundly serious point in your inimitable way, Mr. Moskowitz. Well, the bonuses, that is a huge bonus budget.
Yeah.
What does that work out? Have you done the math to see what that works out in terms of bonus per ICE employee?
$42,000 for every employee in a bonus, in addition to their salary.
A $42,000 bonus?
Yeah, $42,000. And I, because you and I sometimes are symbiotic, you're probably going to ask me, what is the average bonus for the American worker in this country?
Do you know what that is?
It's $2,500.
That's the average Christmas bonus is $2,500?
The average Christmas bonus, because Christmas is back, the average Christmas bonus is $2,500, but they want to give $42,000. And what I would suggest in my amendment is instead of...
That is wild to even propose so much money as a bonus like that. Oh my God, dude.
$42,000, they get $25,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
That is absolutely insane. Anyway, there's a massive hiring drive to get people into ICE, particularly MAGA, Proud Boy types of people. As many as they can possibly get. They're expanding it. Not only are they giving bonuses to ICE, they're expanding ICE, growing it. There's this article on the White House's website, whitehouse.gov, that was written about expanding ICE. Over the last 4 years, this is May 9th, 2025, when the White House released this. Over the last 4 years, the U.S. has endured a full-scale invasion of aliens entering and remaining in the country illegally, causing a relentless onslaught of crime, vagrancy, violence, and death in countless American communities. I just want to point out that this sentence this is literally what Hitler said, these things. Jews were the immigrants of the time. They called them aliens, quote unquote. That is the word they used to refer to Jews in World War II, or leading up to it. And it's not true. This invasion, it's false. This is a great replacement Nazi conspiracy theory. Like, this came from the Nazis. This lawless invasion has also limited the capacity of American schools and hospitals to provide for American citizens and has diverted billions of dollars in federal, state, and local social services from Americans in need. No, it hasn't. In fact, immigrants being here has poured money into social systems because they are paying into these social networks like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and they're not getting any money back. They're not getting anything from the social programs. Much as Trump wants to convince you otherwise, they are not getting Social Security checks or any of that other stuff. The continued presence of illegal aliens, again, a phrase that literally Hitler used, The continued presence of illegal aliens in our nation forces American taxpayers to bear a tremendous fiscal burden to support them, including through costs related to health care, food stamps, public housing, emergency medical services, education, and shelter, as well as the cost of crimes committed by illegal aliens. No, it's complete nonsense. First of all, they are citizens here. I'm sorry. They live here, and as a country that has, that has property that people live on, they contribute. They pay property taxes. They pay Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Even if they don't get any back, they pay taxes. Undocumented immigrants, they pay taxes. Additionally, what gave you the idea that the United States is too fucking poor to take care of basic, K to 12 education? What gave you the idea we're too fucking poor as a country to take care of K to 12 education? Are we really that destitute? If we're that destitute, then we need to raise taxes on the rich. Because actually, the United States is filthy fucking rich as a country. There's so much money in the United States. There is so much power in the US dollar. It's ridiculous. We could afford to pay for all of that for immigrants, actually, instead of for pretend like they're doing here, and still have plenty of money left over. We are $36 trillion in debt. Do you know why? It's a strategy that you've probably noticed, but didn't know that there was a name to it. The strategy's name is Starve the Beast. Republicans want to cut social programs. They want to cut Medicaid and Medicare and everything else. They want to just destroy the federal government. As Grover Norquist said, he wants it so small he can drown it in a bathtub. And they know they're not going to be able to get Democrats to agree enough to destroy these programs. And they're not going to be able to destroy the programs with the limited amount of power that they have. So what do Republicans do? Cut taxes. Cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes. Until the debt builds up more and more and more. And now it has to be dealt with. And the answer is Republicans screaming at the top of their lungs. Cut social programs. Why would we do that? We don't need to cut social programs. We can tax the rich. Taxing the rich would allow us to pay off the debt faster than one would think, certainly. And you know what else? Do you know how much money it would cost to completely outfit the United States in fully renewable energy? The entire U.S., solar, wind, nuclear energy, not using coal or gas at all. You know how much? $6 trillion. The same amount as the Iraq war cost. Instead, Republicans are spending it on rounding up immigrants, not even undocumented immigrants, and even U.S. citizens, rounding up immigrants and U.S. citizens and sending them to detention facilities of various sorts. The unlucky ones end up in a concentration camp in El Salvador, and the lucky ones end up in a situation like this. Spelling out SOS from inside of a detainment facility in Texas. This is the exact type of shit that Jews used to do in concentration camps. Anyway, the United States, the point is that the United States is not too fucking poor for this. We're not destitute. We're rich as as a country. The richest country on planet Earth, some would say. We can absolutely, most definitely afford to do all of this and also pay down our debt and also outfit everything with fully renewable energy and also have a functioning middle class instead of a completely hollowed out one and all the fucking money concentrated at the top. We can afford to do all of it. Anyway, let's continue. He's going to blame immigrants for all of your problems. Let's continue here. In fiscal year 2023 alone, these costs were estimated to exceed $150 billion in taxpayer dollars. I wonder how much we lost in tax cuts to the rich. There's actually an answer to that. $4.6 trillion over the next 10 years. That's how much we lost. $4.6 trillion. And that's just in the tax cuts that Trump just did the other day. $4.6 trillion over the next 10 years. That's not even accounting for what would happen if we taxed the rich at the rate of other countries, like normal functioning countries, 70% minimum, over $10 million a year, and ideally 90% for people that make over 10 million or even 100 million. If we had a system like that, we could pay off the debt like nearly instantly. And we'd be able to fund all of this other. So I don't want to hear it. You know Ben Shapiro's answer to this? I'm sorry, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole for a minute. You know what Ben Shapiro says we should do to solve the debt problem, to pay it down? Quote unquote, restructure entitlements. Do you know why they're called entitlements? That is Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. Because we're entitled to it, because we fucking paid into it our entire fucking lives. That's why they're entitlements. Because every paycheck, you see a little 7-point-something% in there for FICA taxes. I've been paying that. I'm entitled to it because I paid it. It goes into a trust fund that I use when I get older or when I need it for whatever reason. They're entitlements because they can't be touched. Ben Shapiro says, cut taxes for the rich, 4.6 trillion over 10 years, and take the money out of Social Security, the money that I paid in, like explicitly, specifically separate from every other amount that everyone else paid in. Restructuring entitlements is basically just adding an additional 7% tax to the poor and cutting taxes on the rich. I just don't understand, like, why are they even doing this? Why are the rich so obsessed with hoarding wealth the way that they are? I don't get it. They're going to die one day, and that wealth isn't going to do anything for them, but they succeeded in absolutely fucking destroying the United States. Why are they doing this? I genuinely do not understand. So that $4.6 trillion we're never going to see. But Trump says in fiscal year 2023 alone, these costs were estimated to exceed $150 billion in taxpayer dollars. $150 billion. Wow. That's a lot of money. $150 billion, you say? I would like that $4.6 trillion back. Removal flights of illegal aliens are a necessary aspect of immigration enforcement and upholding the rule of law, but they require substantial resources and manpower. So you're telling me you're spending, I would guess, more money renditioning them to concentration camps than you would spend giving them health care. Am I reading this correctly? Therefore, the provision of financial incentives to encourage and assist aliens illegally in the country to elect to depart from the U.S. has the potential to save tremendous taxpayer resources while restoring the sovereignty of our country. As president, it's my legal obligation to exercise all tools at my disposal to end this invasion, remove the illegal alien invaders from the United States, and protect the American people. This proclamation establishes Project Homecoming, which will present illegal aliens with a choice: either leave the U.S. voluntarily with the support and financial assistance of the federal government, or remain and face consequences, like going to a concentration camp, is what he's saying. You'll go to a concentration camp. Anyway, he just goes through this whole plan to try to get people to leave or whatever. The point, though, is that, as he details further down in this thing, they're expanding ICE. They're making it larger. They're adding people to it. There's a post on Reddit here. It kind of goes through it a little bit. Section 3B of the plan outline that we were just reading. No later than 60 days after the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall supplement existing enforcement and removal operations by deputizing and contracting with state and local law enforcement officers, former federal officers and personnel within other federal agencies, and other individuals to increase the enforcement and removal operations force of the Department of Homeland Security by no less than 20,000 officers in order to conduct an intensive campaign to remove illegal aliens who failed to depart voluntarily. So they're planning on hiring 20,000 new ICE officials in the next 60 days. Where are they getting them, by the way? Of course, they're getting them from the Proud Boys. The only people applying to ICE right now are MAGA extremists. The Proud Boys have just been given a badge and a gun and a bandana to cover their faces so that people can't record what they're doing and post it all over the internet. Meanwhile, Kristi Noem here, governor of North Dakota, is that what it is? Or South Dakota? I think North Dakota. Kristi Noem is running a government thing that she's doing. Basically, she's been given money by Congress to accomplish a specific goal, and she's just completely ignoring everything because the people in control right now, believe they're completely above the law and they can do literally whatever they want. All that bitching Trump did about $150 billion when he cut taxes amounting to $4.6 trillion over 10 years. And Kristi Noem just completely ignoring, not just Kristi Noem, but all of these other nutcases, completely ignoring spending limits.
Your department is out of control. You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are illegally refusing to spend funds that have been authorized by this Congress and appropriated by this committee. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow, as spelled out in your oath of office. You are routinely violating the rights of immigrants who may not be citizens, but whether you like it or not, they have constitutional and statutory rights when they...
Right, because they're in the U.S. jurisdiction. If we have jurisdiction over an area, they have rights, period. That's it. Immigrants, undocumented or otherwise, illegal, whatever, they have rights under the Constitution, like everybody else.
Rights when they reside in the United States. Your agency acts as if laws don't matter, as if the election gave you some mandate to violate the Constitution and the laws passed by this Congress. It did not give you that mandate. You act as if your disagreement with the law, or even the public's disagreement with the law, is relevant and gives you the ability to create your own law. It does not give you that ability. Let's start with your spending. You are on track to trigger the Anti-Deficiency Act. That means you are going to spend more money than you have been allocated by Congress. This is a rare occurrence, and it is wildly illegal. Your agency will be broke by July, over 2 months before the end of the fiscal year. You may not think that Congress has provided enough money to ICE, but the Constitution and the federal law does not allow you to spend more money than you have been given or to invent money.
So they're just completely ignoring the limits now, the Trump people. They don't give a fuck about taxpayer money, never did. They're spending whatever the fuck they want. They're doing whatever the fuck they want. You know why? Because they know at the end of the day, Trump is going to pardon them for everything that they did. Maybe. I don't know if he's going to. We'll see.
And this obsession with spending at the border, as the chairwoman mentioned, has left the country unprotected elsewhere. The security threats to the United States are higher, not lower, than before Trump came to office. To fund the border, you have illegally gutted spending for cybersecurity. As we speak, Russian and Chinese hackers are having a field day attacking our nation.
Oh, yeah. Trump shut that whole program down, trying to prevent cyber intrusion or whatever, bot networks, whatever else. Trump shut it down, those programs. What the f***?
You've withdrawn funds for disaster prevention. Storms are going to kill more people in this country because of your illegal withholding of these funds. Your myopia about the border, fueled by President Trump's prejudice against people who speak a different language, has shattered many of this country's most important defenses. Now let's talk about the impoundments.
Impoundments is where Donald Trump is legally required to appropriate funds that were, or to dispense funds that were appropriated by Congress. So like Congress says, we want a company called USAID to exist that funds these very specific things. We'll put this much money to this thing, this much money to that thing, so on and so forth. When Congress lays out funds like that in a budget, the president has like the, technically like the people that operate in government that like run the systems are under the executive branch in the most technical sense. So the president is legally required to make sure those people dispense the money, make sure it goes to who it's supposed to go to. Impoundments means that he must do that, and he's not. Trump is completely ignoring that and just refusing to put money into anything that Congress says that he's supposed to put money into.
When Congress appropriates funds for a specific purpose, the administration has no discretion as to whether to spend or not spend that money.
And Trump actually got impeached over that exact thing. Congress appropriated a bunch of money, like $150 billion or something for Ukraine. I don't even know how much it was now. It might have only been like $20 billion. Who knows? Appropriated that money for Ukraine in his first term, and he held it up. He refused to send it. He refused to allow it to go there to Ukraine until they opened an investigation into his political opponent. It was one of the most corrupt things ever. Totally worthy of being impeached. And here he is just shutting down USAID and shutting down all this, completely ignoring the laws.
unless you go through a very specific process with this committee. Let me give you two of many instances of this illegal impoundment. The first is the Shelter and Services Program. Senator Britt may want to zero that account out, but that account is funded, and it was funded in a bipartisan way. You don't like the program. Your policy is to treat migrants badly. I think that's abhorrent, but it doesn't matter that you don't like the program. You cannot cancel spending in this program, and you cannot use the funds as you have to fund other things, like ICE. You have also canceled citizenship and integration grants, which help lawful permanent residents become citizens, helping them take the citizenship test. I know your goal is to try to make life as hard as possible for immigrants, but that goal is not broadly shared by the American public. That's why Congress, in a bipartisan way, for decades, has funded this program to help immigrants in this country become citizens. Now let's talk about why encounters at the southern border are down so much. This is clearly going to be your primary talking point today. You will tell us that it represents a success. But the primary reason why encounters are down is because you are brazenly violating the law every hour of every day. You are refusing to allow people showing up at the southern border to apply for asylum. I acknowledge that you don't believe that people should be able to apply for asylum, but you don't get to choose that. The White House doesn't get to choose that. The law requires you to process people who are showing up at the border and who claim asylum. Why? Because our asylum law is a bipartisan commitment, an effort to correct for our nation's unconscionable decision to deny entry to Jews to this country who are being hunted and killed by the Nazis.
Wow, they muted that word. Well, it makes sense. I can't put that word in like titles or anything on YouTube.
Our nation, Republicans and Democrats, decided, wrote it into law, that we would not repeat that horror ever again, and thus we would allow for people who were fleeing terror and torture to come here, arrive at the border, and make a case for asylum. Finally, let's talk about these disappearances. In an autocratic society, people who the regime does not like or people who are protesting the regime, they are just often picked up off the street, spirited away, sometimes to open-ended detention, sometimes they're never seen again. What you are doing, both the individuals who have legal rights to stay here, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, or students who are just protesting Trump's policies.
Or literally a student who wrote a piece in the school newspaper about how Palestine was being mistreated. It has just found herself disappeared. She's just gone. I have no idea what even happened to her. She's picked up by ICE and she's just never heard from again. What the f***?
It's immoral, and to follow the theme, it is illegal. You have no right to deport a student visa holder with no due process simply because they have spoken in a way that offends the president. You can't remove migrants who a court has given humanitarian protection from removal.
Has she just straight up zoned out? Is she just in zone mode now, not paying any attention to what he's saying?
Now, reports suggest that you are planning to remove immigrants with no due process and send them to prisons in Libya. Libya is in the middle of a civil war. It is subject to a level 4 travel advisory, meaning we tell American citizens never to travel to Libya. We don't have an embassy there because it is not safe for our diplomats. Sending migrants with pending asylum claims into a war zone just because it's cruel is so deeply disturbing.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Everything about this entire administration is deeply disturbing, and it is all about cruelty. Like he said, it is all about the cruelty. That's what they are reaching for. That's what they want. It's vile. These people are vile human beings, honestly. I don't know how else to communicate this. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward with all of these people, but I tell you this much. Give you a little bit of ray of sunshine here. Democrats will take control again. It will happen. And here's why I believe that. The framers of the Constitution put another check on power, which is states run the elections. The Constitution dictates what they can and can't do in the elections, like they can't discriminate against people, but they are the ones that control the elections. The federal government has no control over it, no say in it, no nothing. Thus, I believe that we will have another Democratic president. And Trump is like 97. Okay, he's got one foot in the grave, one on a banana peel at this point. He's most definitely gonna kick it in sometime in the next 10 years, I'd say, at the very least. Maybe even sooner, maybe in the next few years, who knows? We're definitely gonna have a Democrat, and when that Democrat gets in, we're going to have to do a lot of cleanup. We're going to have to pass laws to protect against this type of in the future. We're going to have to, I mean, I'm talking like full German denazification is what I'm talking about right now. Because again, these people they're Nazis. I mean, full blown, many of whom are self-avowed Nazis, Hitler-loving types of people. We need denazification now. And I think that sooner rather than later, that's what we're going to see. Now, we're probably not going to be able to touch Kristi Noem with, legal whatever, because she's certainly going to be pardoned. Trump is never going to face accountability. Tom Homan, maybe he won't face accountability. He'll probably be pardoned. But you know who won't be pardoned? You know who will have to face accountability? All of those ICE officials that broke the law, that completely ignored any constitutional rights anybody had anywhere along the way. You know who's not going to be protected from consequences of their actions? All of the extremists that aided in violating people's rights and breaking laws and doing whatever it took to keep Trump in power or to put him in power or whatever. Those people are going to get when this happens. And that's what I'm holding on to. As a matter of fact, there's a non-zero chance that Trump doesn't pardon everybody. Maybe he forgets somebody. Pam Bondi, maybe. Caroline Leavitt. Tom Homan, maybe he forgets one of them. Or maybe he just doesn't pardon them at all. Non-zero possibility, he just doesn't give a fuck about them anymore. Maybe he dies in office and they don't get pardoned. What then? They're all going to fucking jail for the rest of their lives. And I just about guarantee that Elon Musk is going to find himself in prison before the day he dies. There's your little ray of sunshine. There's something to think about. I just about guarantee these people are going to get before the end. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people are just vile and they don't care about anybody but themselves.